Hello. Let's see, we already have oh, you guys showed up even early, and you know that I run late, and you showed up early. God bless you. Okay, so let me know if you can hear me. Oop, we're a little blurry when I move around. We don't like that. I don't like that. Let me see if I Oot, that's better. Yay! How are you guys doing? Happy hump day. So, we are going to be using some of the products from the upcoming release, which is this Friday. We made it. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Lisa. Um, so we made it to almost release day, which I'm very excited about. We just have just a couple more days. Hi, Tracy. So we have done a couple of, oh, Debbie's sitting at the Cleveland airport. Debbie, you're like 45 minutes away from me, girl. Um, Thank you. Thank you guys so much. So, we've been doing lots of sneak peeks of the new release, which has been super fun. So our last 2 Mondays have been sneak peeks. Today is also going to be a sneak peek. And then so if you guys watched, I don't know if you watched the premiere or caught the video or whatever, last live we were working on, where did I even put them? Oh, here they are. So we were working on these little um cards here. So we drew this one, the little patriotic one. And then Lisa sent me a message and was like, girl, your sneak peek was not supposed to be showing the thing. It was supposed to be using the thing. Using the thing. I'm new here. So so anyway, I turned them into a little video so that way, because really I didn't do anything else just for this one, just like bring it together. So then you can see how to shade with your grades with those. And these are little shaped cards. Aren't they adorable? They're super cute. Um, I think even as an adult, you can enjoy a cute little shaped card. So there's that. Hi, Lori. Hi, Cassidy. And then for our premiere, our Monday premiere, we did these, which is using the fire pit. And then, just we talked about some like blending some sunset kind of colors. This is the oxide. This is the distress ink. I'd say they both look pretty similar. So there's those. If you missed that video is still up. Um, and today I thought we would use, I thought we would do something a little bit different. And I don't know if it's really going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it's definitely my cup of tea. And I think it's a good thing to be able to share on a live because I've never been able to do it before. So here we're using the saddle up sentiments and the coordinating dies, which we used for our cowgirl one. And then we're going to be using this. It's called On the Range, which is a red rubber stamp. And if you're not familiar with the different types of stamps, like the vast majority of stamps out today are photopolymer, like the clear photopolymer. But that was not the case for years and years and years and years. All we had was red rubber stamps, and usually they were mounted on a wood block. You couldn't even see how you were going to be stamping. You only had the picture on the back of it to go by, and if the stamp was mounted crooked, then it wasn't even going to stamp like that. So photopolymer was really game changing for the stamp industry, but you cannot get the same amount of detail in a photopolymer stamp that you can in a red rubber stamp. There's just so much detail that you can get, and they're beautiful. So we're going to be using these. They do have coordinating dies. I don't want you to think that they don't. They do have coordinating dies, but today we are going to be doing a 1-layer card. So I thought that I've never had a chance to like do one in real time. And I thought that it would be such a fun thing to do with you guys. So that's what we're going to do today. Hopefully you think it's worth it. You think it's worth it to hang out. because I always I show the scenes and the like the masking and everything in the videos, but being able to teach it real time, I am I'm excited to be able to do this. Beatrice, yes, once we start the actual crafting, I will take my face off of here because you won't need to see it. And we will just have this up and it will be much bigger that way. So yeah, for one layer cards is what I mean. That's how I originally fell in love with stamping. Okay, so these you can see they're packaged in here. And when you pull them out, they have like the tiniest little tethers here. So you'll rip those. You're not damaging the stamp. That's just how they come. Okay, so I'm gonna go to no, well, it's okay. This is how we do it all the time, Beatrice. Don't worry. It's the 27th that it comes out, Cassidy. So Friday night we'll be all together in our release party, looking at all of the things. And then after that release party is over is when the live will be, or the release will be available for purchase. So I'm going to take me off and then we're going to work on this. Okay. Okay. So I think we're going to use this little cactus and this little cactus and the barrel, the little wheel and the boots and the hat. Is that good? I think that's good. Is that good? Hold on. I think that'll be too complicated. So we'll just do these. Okay. So now we're going to get our cardstock. So I am truly going to stick with my clean and simple roots here. And I'm just going to do the masking. So do you see what I'm doing here? What I'm doing is I'm measuring my paper because sometimes I trim them differently, like when I'm rushing, and then I'll start making with one. I'll be like, that's not even the right size, girl. And this one is not. This one is 5.5 by 4.5. So it's not an A2 size card. I got to trim it. So I'm glad that I have measured. Tracy, I think a lot of people are, she said she's never done masking. And I do think that a lot of people are kind of put off or overwhelmed by it. But with the way that the economy is right now and the tariffs on the dyes and all of those things, it for years gave me and still gives me the option to purchase more product versus having to purchase the stamps and the dyes. And it just depends on your style of crafting as well as what you're capable of, because there is some fussy cutting involved, and so that might not be for everybody. So here, this is the planning stage where I figure out where I want everything to go. But just kind of stack them up and see how I want it all to sit. This should go this way, I think. And then I can make a determination about, this might be better as a landscape card. Oh, Cassidy, it's because we're on two different channels. So we're on my channel and then we're also on the Honeybee channel. So I do try to repeat them when I see them, like the ones I'm responding to, so that everybody kind of knows what's going on. I do try to repeat them. I will try to be better about that. Okay. So here, barrel. Put that back a little further. Wheel. Here. Boots. Cacti. Hat. Okay. So now By the way, pardon my allergies. It is what it is today. They were bad yesterday too, which we've just been in this terrible heat wave. And like even like last night at like 8:30 at night, it was like 90 degrees out still. It was so hot. And that's not normal for Ohio, period, but definitely not in June. Um, so once we lay this out, okay, now you could absolutely do this with the dyes. Don't get me wrong. Um, so once we lay this out, then whatever is on top, okay, whatever is seated on top of everything else, like here we can see the wheel is on top and the hat is on top, those things need to be stamped first because we will see all of it. So we need to stamp them first before we stamp anything else. So that way we know that we're going to see all of it. So I'm just kind of going to sneak these out here. That barrel is going to be a rough one. Let me see if I can pick it up with my lid before pardon. Oh yeah, and I can, good. So I can snatch those up and then move these out of the way. So now these are perfectly positioned where we want to stamp them. Even though they're going to look like they're floating, they're not. I do need to, because I'm using my Misty, I need to remove my foam. And the reason you remove your foam is because this already has the foam built in it. See this gray layer? So, okay, now we're good with that. I do have to scoot it over a little bit just because of my camera setup. So now I am going to grab my intense black ink because I am going to color these with alcohol markers, and then I will just ink them up. Now, can you see? Look at all the detail that's in there, like the little lines in the hat. It's so good. There just is not anything like red rubber. So, and then we're going to push these down. Just give good even pressure. They look beautiful. I'm so happy with them. I always see them twice because I like a bold black outline, but once obviously would have been sufficient. But I like them when they're bold. Okay. There we go. All right. So I'm not going to remove these. I am going to leave them in place. And I am going to grab, this is Eclipse masking paper. Okay, so it comes on a roll like this because I'm cheap and it works really well. And you get a lot for a little bit of money. But this side is sticky. Now, I do have other masking papers that have a backer on them for when I want to die cut and mask. But if I'm just doing this, like just where I'm trimming them out, I'm using this. So now, how would you say the Intense Black is compared to VersaFine? I find VersaFine to be a little bit too juicy for my particular liking. But also, I don't necessarily know that the VersaFine is safe for alcohol markers, is it? I for some reason, I'm thinking that it is not. So I'm going to put this down right over my images where I know they're going to stamp, and then I'm going to ink it up again. I know Memento Tuxedo Black is safe, and for a while that was like really the only one that was on the market, but it is not a bold black. So as soon as all like other companies started coming out with what they were using, I jumped ship because I did not care for how little saturation it had. Oh, look, Caitlin's in here. Okay, so if you're watching on the Honeybee channel or watching on my channel, I don't know which one she's on, but if you do not know who she is, Caitlin Annalie Cards. She also does YouTube videos, and she's a colorist, and she is fantastic. So if you have not seen her videos or her coloring before, I would highly recommend you go check her out. She is super talented and a very nice person, like most crafters are. Okay, so I'm just going to trim these out. And what you see me doing here is I'm cutting around them because when you fussy cut, the more paper you have around, the more stress there is on your paper, which is more likely to give you a rough cut. So when we're fussy cutting, you hold your scissors in your non-dominant hand, or in your dominant hand, paper in the non-dominant hand. And then you keep your scissors straight and you use your non-dominant hand to turn the paper. This will give you the smoothest cut so that you do not hate life when fussy cutting. She is Caitlin with a C, Caitlin, Anna Lee, all one word, cards. She's so good. You'll love her, Dina. Okay. There's so many different ways to spell Caitlin, which I totally did not think about when I had my daughter. She was named after like a lot of women in our families. But I have learned that there is a lot of different ways to spell it. My Caitlin is a K. Okay. So now this one, see this little string that hangs down here? It's adorable. It is not worth us cutting it out because it has hi Penny, hi Kathy, because it has such little detail in it. And it's going to stamp just pretty much a dark line. I'm not even worried about masking it off because it's going to be dark anyway. So that's the same thing. Like if you're stamping balloon and it has like strings or something like that, don't even worry about it. Just cut it off. Oh, that's so funny. You have a Caitlin name for you and spelled completely different. Yeah, mine is a Kaitlyn. That is my Caitlin. And it's because her name is Caitlin Mary Ann. The Lynn portion of her name comes from my oldest sister. Her name is Michelle Lynn. And then the middle part of her name, Mary Ann, comes from my other sister, whose name is Kimberly Ann. And then my mother always said if she had had a fourth daughter, she would have named her Katie. So that's how we got the Kate portion of it. And then my grandmother, my mother-in-law, and my husband's great aunt all have a variation of Mary or Marie in their name. My mother-in-law is Loretta Marie. His aunt is why am I blanking? Aunt Mary Lou. Mary Lou? Yeah. What? What am I doing? I don't even know. I'm losing my mind, I think. And then my grandmother was Mary Jane. Mary Jo. That's what it is. It's not, yeah, Mary Jo. That's his aunt. Oh my gosh. How awful. Okay, so we just put them all together and then they became her name. That's how we ended up with that. Okay, so here now, if you remember our scene, okay, we've moved those, we've moved on from those. Our scene was like so. Okay, so now we have to make sure we're lining up our barrel with what makes sense for this hat because the hat is seated on it. So then we're going to scoot this up and over. Now, if you want this matters sometimes for different things. We want the barrel, the wheel to be resting on the barrel. So this barrel needs to be behind the wheel, like the bottom of it. Because if you put it in front of it, you're going to see all of this wheel and half of this barrel, and it's going to look really weird. So we want to make sure that's backed up, and we want to make sure it's over far enough that our hat is going to sit on it. Then we have our cactus. Can we get the boot? I'm going to wait on the boots, I think. I'm going to wait on the boots. All right. So now, if you're not sure, okay, here's a little trick in case you're not sure, if you're scared. Because sometimes it be like that. Like sometimes you're not 100% positive about how it's going to look. I got to scoot this up a little. You can, and I do this all the time. Okay. Tracy says it's way too much thinking. it comes as kind of second nature after you've done them for a while. Um, but I totally get it. It's much easier. You can do them, like I said, with the dies. It's much easier to arrange them that way because then you have the pieces you can play around with. Um, but it does make it just slightly more challenging because then you have the uh, what are they called? The borders. You have the borders that you have to compete with. All right, so we're gonna trim those out. I don't even think I need this one for the cactus. Okay, let's just set that one there because I'm not entirely sure I need that. If I was going to be doing some ink blending in the background, then I would definitely mask all of them. But since I am not doing any ink blending, I'm going to do it all with markers. I'm not overly concerned about every single one of them having a mask. But if I'm building like a full scene and I know that I'm going to be ink blending in the background, I do go ahead and do my masks first for the reason I'm showing you right now. Yeah, so Terry is asking, do you want the boot in front? I don't know. So here, I can use this little mask. See now, look at if I stamped it there, it would just be floating. See that how that hat isn't matching up? So I need to reposition it to make sure I can't do it with my fingers because I have on red nail polish. So I have to I have to get my die release tool. So this needs to be up higher. I'm going to move this because I want to be able to see how this needs to sit. I think that would be good. So I can put it into position that way. Can I move it over just a little bit? Maybe. Oh, stay here. But anyway, doing the mask beforehand does give you a little bit of room to kind of play around with it. I feel like maybe that might be okay. Let's double check it with this one. All right. So that's leaning there, that's sitting there. I think that's okay. I do. All right. So now we're going to, because I have this exactly where I want it, right? With how it's seated. So I'm going to, instead of trying to match it up, I'm just going to remove it so I can set it right on top of where I want it. And then the same thing with this little cactus. I'm going to put him in the back because I don't need that. And then I'll pick them up. I will need to remove this mask, not these. These masks stay in place because they are the first layer that we stamped. But I do need to remove the barrel mask. And then I'm going to ink that up. Oh, man. I took my Zyrtec this morning, too, and here I am, sniffling. Okay, and get those down. See what happened here? We have a little bit of a gap. So I'm just going to make sure that I give really good pressure right there so that I can seal that gap. But sometimes that does happen when you have another piece of paper in the way. And then I can put my barrel mask on. I don't need one for this. That's fine. And then we are done with these. We can set them off to the side. And we're going to put the boots here. So they'll be in front, but it won't be overlapping. That was one of the things that you guys had asked. So it will be there, but it just won't be overlapping the barrel. Okay. And I do think that these may overlap, but I'm gonna put this probably more into the background. Okay, so let's pick this up and stamp that down. Okay. Do I have enough? So here, like you can see, as we're trimming, I am cheap. So I just keep using it until I cannot use it anymore. That is what I do. Brandon says he finds it's hard to use red rubber this way since he can't see through it. Yes, that is part of the reason why we do the masks, because it makes it so we can reposition them and then line the stamps up. So here, I don't really need to trim it because, well, the most of this is gone. So, and here's another way that you can save yourself some time. Like in this case, I know that my um, cactus is only going to go over the back part of the boot, which by the way, I am just cutting that spur into a circle shape. I am not going in and carving out each individual one. It's not necessary. So I'll just finish this cut out through the bottom. But then um I'm not overly worried about this side because I don't need that to be masked for me to stamp that one little cactus, which will go here. And again, because it's behind, we want to make sure that it's higher up so that it looks like it's seated behind. Okay. And now we pick this one up and he will be our last stamp. Well, we could probably do the sentiment right now. So Kathy says she has a hard time lining up any stamp, even if it's clear. Yeah, do you remember like years ago when the stamps, the layering stamps were all the rage? Even when they were super popular, and like I do this for a living, I still couldn't get them where they were supposed to be. All right, so now I'm gonna go in. We've got that stamped. That should be our last image stamping. And then you can just save these if you want. Like once you cut them, you could just save them. But I'm going to go ahead and remove the masks so that we can see. So this is our little one layer card. I think he looks super cute. Um, everything's kind of seated where we would like it. I'll hold it up here for you guys to see. Oop, drop my magnet. Sherry said masking is stamping magic. I agree. So now we are going to, I think we can stamp our sentiment now since I know I'm not going to add anything to the background. Not unless we have a stamping, like a situation, a faux pas. So I was looking at this one, but I don't think I'm going to like the way that that is on the actual card. So what do we like? Hmm. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading. I'm reading it to myself. I'm not reading it to you. So yeah, I do think, let me look at this. I think this one might be a little bit too compact for what I was thinking, oh no, maybe I can shape it around the hat. Now I don't like it over there. I do think maybe I do like the rootin' tootin' birthday, but I feel like that would maybe be eh, let's try this one. It says courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyway. So I feel like that could be maybe a good like congratulations card, maybe. That's a little maybe over here. No, then we're totally unbalanced. Okay. Life is better with a horse. That's cute. Okay. Um, I want you to be a long one, but not too fat. Nope, I don't like that one either. That one fits in a little bit, maybe down here. No. All right. Well, you know what? We're gonna wait on the sentiment because I can't make a choice. So let's just get into the coloring because I cannot make a decision. All right. Well, yeah. So Brandon said he tries to move them around with his pokey tool, but rarely does he stamp a sentiment directly on a card. And that, like back in the day, though, that was the only choice we had was to just stamp it and hope you didn't ruin your card. And believe me, I did. I ruined many, many cards that way. Um, okay, so now we used our Olo markers the last time we were together for the ones that we were, or did we use Copics? Did we use Copics? Did we use Olos? I can't remember. Well, we're using Copics today because I can't remember. So the first thing I'm going to look at is what needs to be the lightest, um, because I don't want that to cause us some trouble. So the barrel will be brown. This will be brown. The boots, I mean, you can kind of play around with. Maybe we'll do these like gray or black so that there's a different color. And then these will be green. So I'm going to start with the cactus, I think. Brandon said, and I had to walk uphill both ways. I'm not quite that old, um, but I do know what you are referring to, as my father told me many times that he had to walk uphill in the snow both ways. Okay, so let's do probably some more muted greens, I would think. I feel like that's kind of the vibe that this is giving. So this is my Copic hex chart. And as you can see, I still don't own all of them. Do, 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 do. So let's go with a G. I think I'm going to go with a G29 for one of them. Sorry, my phone is ringing. Give me 1 second. I don't think it worked. Sorry. No one's ever called me in the middle of a live before. Um, can you still hear me? That was a little wild. Let me know if you can still hear me. Okay. That was so weird. And actually it's one of the guys that I used to work with, who still works with my husband. So I am I don't know, maybe Eric missed a in call from work because I am the second number. I don't know. He's not home. He took the kids to the library. He took the kids to the library. So I'm not entirely sure what he was calling for. Okay. G29, right? That's what we decided on. And then a G28. These are so smashed in here. I can barely get my finger in there. And then what did I decide? 28, 29, and I think I'm going to go with a 46 maybe, if I can find it. Maybe not. What about a 63? 63 is pretty close. We'll go with that. Okay. And then we can also do some brighter ones. And then I'll show you kind of how to knock it back a little bit. All right. So let me get my Misties so I can turn them upside down for you. I know somebody asked last time, like, why are you coloring on top of a Misty? And it's just to help raise it up so that you guys can see a little bit better. Okay, there we go. Let me get me back in the picture. Okay, so the first one we're going to do, and we'll have to see how it works out, is, I might not even need the 28. I probably don't. I'm going to skip it. Okay, so this is what we're going with for now. A YG 63, 67, and a G29. And I'm going to color this one right here. So notice how we masked this so the cactus is cut off behind it. So we're just going to fill that in with some of the green to give the illusion that it's continuing on. Okay, so I'm adding shadows here. This is where it's meeting the main body. And then because it's on the inside, I'm going to add shadows here as well. And just kind of flick that up. Same thing here, but I'm going to put the shadows on the other side onto the body of the, because this one is more forward. And then I'll pick up the darker color here. I'm going to leave a gap and then carry that up there from the ground up around this little wheel. Flick that color up. And then here it's behind the wheel. So I'll flick that up. And then I'm kind of going to just give the illusion here of like the branch kind of coming down. So it looks like it's complete. And then this is the 60. I know I'm terrible about putting these up there. So I'll flick that up. Make sure those are rounded out. Same thing here. I'm going to go over the darker color and then pull it up. Okay. And then the last color is this YG. We're calling it a brand. Brand and I honestly don't know what it's called. I don't know if it's a branch or not, but it is for this. Okay, and then we're going to start on the tips and then kind of bring that down. This green is a lot less saturated. Okay. So you can see that I did get out of the lines a little bit because I put down too much pressure. So I'm going to show you how to fix that too. As soon as I can find. Yes, the colorless blender. So when you're doing the colorless blender, you actually want to be pushing the ink where you want it to go. It doesn't erase it so much as move it. So we're just kind of lightly pushing it back into the cactus. And then you gotta give it time to dry. Because if you go right back in there, all you're gonna be doing is just adding more moisture and moving more ink around. So once it's not like cool to the touch anymore, then we can go back in. What did we decide? We decided it's called an arm. Oh, Betsy's got us. Betsy says it's an arm. Thanks, Betsy. All right. Okay. So that one's that. Google says branch, Lisa says. Okay. Now I'm going to get this one over here. And for this one, I'm going to use brighter colors. And then I'm going to show you how to knock it back. So that way, if you have a limited amount of markers, you don't feel like you have to get a bunch. So this one has a lot of, I need a scrap piece of paper. It has like ridges. Where's a pencil? Okay, so we're doing this. This is a terrible cactus, but it's just for illustrative purposes. So there's a part in the cactus that is coming out like ridges. So that's how it looks. I know sometimes it can be hard to see in the image. But so where those darker points are, like in the valleys, that is where I'm going to add my darkest color. And then also, see, these are behind the boots. So we're going to add the darker color here as well. And then once we get this way, we'll continue on following those ridges, putting some color into the valleys, and then around the back there. Okay. Now that we kind of have the bones of it outlined, we're going to go back in with our medium color and go over those dark ones and then extend it out just a little bit. You don't want to completely cover your white space because that is what's going to be your highlight. And that's how we'll get dimension. And if in coloring it in, you feel like maybe you bleached out your darker, or maybe it's not as dark as you would like it, you can always go back in with your darkest color and bump those shadows up a little bit to help it look more dimensional. So now both of our cactus is colored. So then we can move on to this. Now, if you guys watch my channel, you know I do like a lot of color variation. I feel like that adds a lot of interest. So I think for the wheel, I'm going to go with maybe some cooler browns. If I can find some cooler browns. Hi, 77, 74, 71, 79. There we go. Okay. So these are this colors. I have to get a beverage. Okay. So now there's obviously a couple of things going on with this wheel. It's got the outside edge of the wheel, and then the front edge of the wheel, and then the front of the spokes and the inside of the spokes. So our darkest color is going to go on the inside of the spokes, and I'm just going to flick it up from the top and the bottom. This one, like, as they're getting smaller, I'm just gonna do the darkest color because there's not a real lot of real estate there. Yes, Wendy, my allergies are terrible today, and they were terrible yesterday, and it does make things a little aggravating. Okay, so now we have this inside portion, and I'm gonna add some shading to that. And you just wanna make sure you're being really light-handed when you have really small areas like that, because it can get out of control really, really quickly. Okay. So then we have this part, which is raised, and so I'm gonna fill in that center, and then I'm gonna take the darkest color around the edge of each section to give it some more dimension. Same thing here, it's touching the ground, and we know we add shadow where 2 points meet. So this, we're gonna flick this color up from here, and then the same thing on the top. Now I am a turner. I feel more comfortable when I turn my paper. So that's what I am doing. And then this kind of has like a little bit of an edge that kind of runs all the way around it. So I'm gonna get that too. Your line doesn't have to be perfectly straight because remember, it's gonna blend. Just make sure you're staying within the edges of the stamp. Okay, so now we'll move on to our next. This is our dark mid-tone. We're gonna fill in all of these little spokes here and the inside edge of the wheel. Okay. To get this back edge as well. It's the back edge of this. I'm going to go around those edges that we put down. I'm going to add a little bit of like a comma over here. And then I will, again, go over this and flick it out. And then I'm also going to the top portion where it's connected to the wheel. I'm going to use the um, dark mid-tone for that as well because they are seated inside, so there would be some shadow. Onto the 74, and that will finish off this section of the wheel. The spokes. And then we'll get these sections as well. Where it's darker, where it like meets the ground, I will use that lighter mid-tone to kind of flick it up. I'm going to do the same thing from over here since it's kind of canted away from us. And then if I get my lid on, I will do the lightest color, which is the 71. If you feel like any of your parts got too dark, that you didn't love it, um, then you can go back in with the lightest color and kind of help them to blend. So, is it better to practice with brush nibs or just buy classic smaller nibs for coloring fine details? Um, So I think that if you intend on using, alcohol markers long term, I would say to practice with these because it's going to train your hand of how much pressure to put down, which will be helpful when you're coloring smaller things like this. But as far as like still learning and practicing, I would always recommend that you practice with larger images because they're so much easier to color. Okay. So now we're going to color this barrel, and I'm going to go for some warm browns to make it a little bit more interesting. If I can find all of the colors I'm looking for. Okay, here we go. All right, let me get them situated. 53, 55, 57. Okay, this is what I'm going to use for the barrel. Now, barrel. These are raised. The bands are raised. So they will cast a shadow. I already know that. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of shadow here because it is behind the boots. And here, just to give it a more round appearance. So then there'll be shadow here again. And here. Oh, sniffles are so annoying. I apologize. And then here where the hat is seated and where it's inset from the top of the Krista, the release is this Friday after the release party. I hope that you guys can join us. It's 8 p.m. Eastern time, the release party. And then I like to give myself a little barrier, especially when I'm next to something, and then flick in from there. Oh, I gotta add some shadows here. Okay. And then we'll move on to the 57. And again, we're just gonna extend those out. I'm also gonna bring it in from there. This whole part will be filled in. So we're gonna have that nice center highlight. And then on the bands, I am going to add a little bit of shading to the left and the right. And now we're on to the 55. Finish getting the lip of that. This will fill in all of our darker areas. And you'll just want to work it back and forth until they're nice and blended. I'm also going to get the bottom here. And then I will flick over this. And then the 53 will be the highlight color for the bands. If at some point you are like, hey, I don't like the way this is looking, like maybe, you don't love that the stripes are so prominent, you can go back in with your darker midtone and just kind of blend those out. You don't need to go crazy. You don't want to cover up all your shading. We just want to help that line blend a little bit more. And then you would go back in with that lightest color to help them blend out like that. So now maybe it looks a little bit more natural and not so stripedy. Okay. So now we're down to the hat and the boots. Do we have color suggestions for these? Well, we got a lot of neutrals, and then we got green. Green's natural complement is red, but I don't like that. I don't think red would be like, I don't see many red cowboy hats. So I'm leaning more towards like black or gray because um I don't want to do another brown. So I'm thinking I'm going to do black. Betsy just said like you could always go more colorful for the boots, but these aren't like these are not like decorative boots. These look like work boots. Like you work a ranch. So I do think I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with the so it's not going to be necessarily our most colorful, but that's okay. All right. I got a C9, a C7, and I need the C5. Okay. So we're going to go with a C5, a C7, a C9, and a 100. Again, I know this is scary because dark colors are scary, but you can do it. I will show you how to add the shading with the lightest color first. So here you can the illustrator here has done us a great service in showing where the shadows should be to help shape this hat. I have some kind of across the top here. This, since the hat is bent up, will all be in shadow. And we'll just grab the underneath here. And then this turns back around over this way. So we want to make sure we're getting some roundness there. Okay. I am going to do just a line here, um, kind of like a backwards L, because you can see that they intended for this part to be a highlight just by the lines. So now that's with my lightest color. Um, and so now that I know where that's going to go, I can go in with my black. You don't have to be as heavy-handed with your black as we just were. You don't have to fill the whole thing in, but it'll give you a good guideline of where you want everything to go. This, where it's curled up, will be pretty much solid black though. We just want to make sure to leave that light edge. Turn it around again. So I can get in there, and then here you can see we're kind of making those little comma shapes. You want your flicks to be rounded because that part is rounded. I don't know if it's Tamara or Tamara asked, excuse me, um, who illustrated the set, and Honeybee has their own in-house illustrator. And then it takes on, sometimes it takes on other illustrators like myself and Dawn. Um, but it does, for the most part, it has its own. Thank you all for the blessings. I need them. I appreciate that. Okay, so now under the C9. And we're gonna go over that and extend it out. I know they look like the same, like, Kelly, you're putting just black on black, but I promise you I am not. It's a very subtle gradient that is very difficult to see until you put the lightest color in. Oh, Kathy said it reminds her of the show Yellowstone. We, camera, Tamara? Okay, I'm gonna have to remember it. Hi, Anne. Um, and Rochelle. So Kathy said it reminds her of Yellowstone. So we did watch Yellowstone, my husband and I, but we have not, with everything that was going on with mom, and we have not finished it. He just said something to me the other day, like, well, now, like, maybe because he's home on a vacation week, maybe we can maybe we could do finish Yellowstone. All right, this one needs to be refilled. I am pushing my luck here. So when you see a black cowboy hat, you think of Johnny Cash. I can see that correlation. He was known as the Man in Black. All right, C7. Are you in? Of course, I would not be able to. There, this. I was gonna say, of course, I would not be able to find it quickly because we're in a. Oh, Corolla, thank you so much. She gave me a super boost for ice cream for peanut butter and jelly bean and an iced coffee for me, which is very nice. Thank you so much. All right, let me grab my tweezers. I'm going to do this kind of over here because I don't want to do it over top of my card, just in case it drips. Anne says her mom would love this setting. Is she a lover of the Southwest? That should be enough. Fun fact from Wendy. She lives near the Folsom Prison, and the bridge near it is called the Johnny Cash Trail. That is fun. That is a fun fact, Wendy. I like that. Okay, so now let's see if we can get. There we go. That is much better. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that I am filling in anything that needs to be dark. I am going to get that little section right there. And now our C5 is our highlight color. Catch the lip there. I do think maybe. All right. And there is our cat. That's the thing with like shading those things. Like it doesn't really come together until you put that last color in. She is, and Dad used to line dance every. Oh, that's so nice. They used to line. Her parents used to line dance. Oh, I'm sorry that you've lost your. I'm so sorry for the loss of your father, and I I obviously still have my dad, but as you guys know, my mom just passed, and it is a struggle. It is a struggle. Okay, so now I think we're gonna do the I think we're gonna do this in gold. I think that would be a fun little something to add. So here's my gold colors. Y02, O8, YR24, and an E99. This is not a Copic approved combination, but it is mine. It is my go-to. So where this is wrapping back around the hat, that's where we're going to have some shadows. Same thing where it gets close to this little decoration. Add that to the bottom. Then I'm going to fill in that with the Y08. And I'm just going to use the Y02 on top of here. So see, he's got a little gold hat band. That's fun. I am going to go in with probably the C9 and just fill in this. This part is a little challenging. So you could use a fine liner and that would be fine. Okay, so there, now we have our little hat. Well, I thank you very much. Everybody says as long as it's Kelly approved, you're good, and I appreciate that. Okay, so on the boots then, we'll go like a dark gray maybe? Yeah, let's do that. Because then I think it would be good to see the difference between when you add the black and when you don't. All right. So this is the inside of the boot. That will be dark. So we're going to get that. Same thing over here. We're going to leave a little bit of an edge for the highlight. And then all along here, because this boot is behind the other one, we're going to add shadows there and then where this is. Now for this one, underneath here is going to be dark because it's got a little bit of a heel on it. And then some shadows there, up underneath here. And then this will, yes, Erica, it's a rough go because it doesn't even, if I blow my nose, then I will have a sneezing fit and I will sneeze 15 times in a row. It is a struggle. Okay, that part is connected to the spur. So I'm going to get this right here. I'm not going to make it add, we will add shadow there, but I'm just not going to use the darkest color to do it. And then I'm just going to go up the side of the boot. Then, does the barrel behind the wheel need filled in? So I looked at it and you could, but it's going to be such a small amount that here, let me go in with this. So like the barrel shape would be like this. So you could fill this part in right here. Like that. But I do feel like that needs to be a bit darker. Where's the 59? Okay. Okay. So now we're back to this. We're with the 7. And again, we want to leave a gap there so that we have a highlight color. Just blending those out. From that side, and then up this way. And then this is the C5. Fill in the rest of that boot. Heel. And then I'm also going to use this for the sole. And this is going to be the highlight color for the edge of the inside of the boots. And then, do you think I need to go back in and blend that a little bit more? So that look, did not look very blended on the actual body of the boot. So, and then for a gray, the last color is going to be a C3. That's going to be our highlight color. Okay. So I'm thinking that we should do the yellow, like the gold to match the gold on the hat. I don't know anybody would actually have like gold spurs, but it's our card and we can do what we want. Okay. So right away, we got to establish the difference between these two. So this, you want to make sure this section of it is darker and this section right here is your lightest color. That's what's going to help them stand out from each other so that they don't just blend in as one thing. And this is the 24. And again, these parts are up, they're raised, so they will be lighter as well. And then this is the lightest color, which we will get for all of our little highlight pieces. Okay. Now, the only thing we have left to do is, remember we talked about how they look like they're floating? We have to give them some ground. Oh, Corolla, you have allergies too. I know, guys, it's so bad. And I like, because I have to, like, I talk for a living. Um, I feel terrible for you guys, but it is, I can't stop it. No matter what I take, it won't cut it out. Okay, so we used a 57 and we used the 71 here. So we have a cool and a really warm brown. Um, so I think I'm actually going to go maybe towards with a redder brown, because isn't that what you see in like Southwest, like the red clay, like kind of ground? Somebody who lives in that area, tell me if that's accurate. Should we go red-ish? 35, 37, 39. What is, do I have a 33? Or no, I have a 34 and a 31. Let's see. Yes, reddish. Okay. 35, 37. I don't know how. I pulled them all out, but I don't know that we'll be using all of them. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Because I just want to put the ground in. I don't want to have to like do a sky and all that stuff. Like it's not meant to be a scene. I'm just trying to ground the little guys. All right, so this is the darkest color. And I extend that out. Obviously, there would be a shadow underneath the boots, underneath the barrel, underneath the wheel, and underneath our cactus. So already we're looking more grounded, even though it's not blended and we haven't really done anything about it. It already looks more grounded because it has something underneath it. So now I'm going to go over that and extend it some. Okay. I want that to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to go in with a 59, which is the darkest color we use for the barrel. I'm going to go in with that. And then that way, when I go over it with my lighter colors, it still will have an actual shadow. All right, so we did that. Now we're on to the 35. So these are now connecting. Just want them to. I got to get back in here for it to make sense with what's going on over here. Okay. So I'm going to skip right over to the 31 and just go around the edges with that and just kind of like work it back in there. There we go. Okay. And then that way I feel like the lighter it is, it kind of thank you, Corolla. Thanks for popping in. So that way it just kind of trails off. And I'm a fan of that. I like the way that it works. Okay. So now when we look at this, like, can you see the difference between, I'll pick it up. Can you see the difference between the hat that has actual black in it and the boots that does not? It's just the grays. So that's why when I say like adding the black in really is, pretty important because it makes it look like it's actually black. Just like leaving white space is this just as easily as important when you're coloring something white. So now, because you guys know that I cannot help myself, um, I am going to grab a white gel pen and a fine liner. Yeah, this will be good. Okay. So I'm just going to take, you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to take this fine liner and go right around this cactus arm and this barrel. And that's just going to help it have a finished edge so that it's not just like floating out there looking like it doesn't match. And if I was a clear shimmer marker, where would I be located? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to add that to the gold. Am I going to add it? No one knows. There we go. I'm going to add that to the gold. And then just kind of around the wheel and on some of these little cacti. Okay. So, oh yeah, JD, I'm sure that it would look good with colored pencils as well. Um, and okay, so now I'm going to add a highlight on top of my gold things so that they appear like they are shiny. Then I am also going to add a highlight to the hat on that edge there, the boot along the toe. You could also do the wheel if you were so inclined. Just to give it a little bit of character. And then the other thing that we're going to do is maybe we should do it on this one. It has all these little poker things. So I'm just adding in little, like, tiny little, they look like little slash marks. You know what I'm saying? And I'm varying the direction and the size. And that's going to help it have its little fine little pokey parts. I saw a thing, I shared it on my Facebook the other day, that says just because life hands you a cactus doesn't mean you have to sit on it. And I think that's super accurate. Like just because um, you're having a hard time doesn't mean that we have to, uh, make it worse by kind of wallowing in it. So then these ones, I'm going to do more kind of sporadic. And some of them are slashes and some of them are just dots. So I'm going to add a highlight here so that we can tell that there's a lot of dimension on that one. All right, so now that we know what this guy's looking like, I think it's super cute. Oh, I do need to add some. I can see it right here. There's no ground in the background there. Excuse me. Here, it needs some ground back here. There we go. Now it looks like it's kind of coming around the back there. Okay. Thank you very much for all the blessings. So now we do have to figure out the sentiment. What are we gonna do? I don't know. Maybe now that we've colored it, we'll have a better idea of what would look good on it. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. Sentiments. We will find you a sentiment that will go with you. All right. So now what I like to do is I just kind of hold them in place. Boots on, worries off. Boots on, worries off. No. That one might work. Life's a ride, make it wild. You climb in the saddle, be ready for the ride. That one might be too long. I think maybe that one. And I think we'll put it down here so that we still have a good balance. Because originally I kind of feel like filling up this corner, so that way it works diagonally, but I typically tend to like my sentiments a little tighter into my design. Anne, is the release this Friday? Yes, Anne, it is. This release is this Friday. Sorry, I'm bumping the camera and trying to make sure everything is straight. It is not. Okay, and we'll do that there. And I think I'm just going to go with black. Just black, I think, is a good, because we've already got some black in there. Now, where did I put my black? Y'all, I cannot be trusted with putting things back where they go. We stamped it. Did I set it over here? Did I? I literally have no idea. How How could I have no idea where I put it? We just used it. It ran off. Okay, well, we'll just use another black. I did not see Lisa in the chat. It drives me crazy when I have something in my hand and I can't find it too, Laurel. You're not alone. So I do like that one. I'm going to stamp it again. So I will have to pick a winner. All right, there we go. And then if you wanted to give the illusion like of some sky or something, you could outline these in blue. But I don't think it's necessary. I think it's really cute just the way that it is. I'm really happy with the way that it came out. I do kind of want to blend that a little bit. And this is why my husband's like, you can never leave anything alone. And in some degrees, he is right, but we won't tell him that. Okay. There we go. Oh, Misty, don't be sorry you came in late. You can always catch the replay. No big deal. Everybody's got lives to live. We get that. All right. So I think it came out super cute. I'm very excited about it. Let me go through. I'm going to bring me back. Here I am. I'm back. And then we are going to pick a winner. I'm just going to randomly stop on somebody. All right. And it looks like Krista Beard, you are the winner for the gift card. Betsy was in here. So Betsy is who you want to email. You want to email her at customer care at honeybeestamps.com. So you will send her an email and let her know that you were the winner from the live. And then that way she can get you your gift card, which hopefully you'll be able to use when you are shopping the new release. So super exciting. I hope that you guys, there you go, Betsy. Betsy's already on it. Good job, Betsy. I got to go back. There we go. I dropped my mouse. Did you hear it? It just bink, 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 bink. Oh, okay. Do you see my dog? Hold on. Where are we at? There we are. Okay. Do you see my dog? Do you see her? She's been sleeping there the whole time. That's my old girl. That's my Molly. She's just been sleeping there the whole time. Okay, so anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me. I think that it came out really cute. I'm excited to see you guys on Friday. We're gonna have 2 lives this week. So I will see you then, hopefully, and we'll be going over all of the, like every other release party, all the good things. And I will have 2 product spotlight videos as well up on the Honeybee channel on Thursday and Friday during the day. So if you want more of the release, you could check out those also. So thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. I always appreciate you. I know your time is a commodity. It was in my lap. I just literally put my hand down and found it. It was in my lap the whole time. Oops. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for spending your time with me. And I will, no, Friday is 8. It's 8 p.m. Then we will share it over if you're in the Honeybee challenge group. We will, we'll have it over there linked as well. So that way you can join in and check everything out. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you later.